Because I don't think that the Chinese and Indians will ever participate unless we do, number one. Number two, I think that every effort helps. Number three, I think that if the United States were just committed to an efficient future and proved that it was economically viable, then the Indians and the Chinese would be more likely to follow. And the American multinational corporations involved in those countries could have a bigger impact.
So you've changed your tune from when you were president, because you said at the time when the Kyoto Treaty was being negotiated that you wanted something that would bring in both developed and developing nations. You're now saying America should take the first step.
Yes, I did do that, but I didn't want to hold them to the same standards we had. And I did support the Kyoto Treaty as we developed it. The rest of the American government didn't, the Congress didn't, but I did. And then it was rejected by President Bush when he took office. But we need a successor. But what the Indians and the Chinese and other countries need to do is to see that you can do this consistent with economic growth. We have to demonstrate that. And Mayor Bloomberg and I are involved in a partnership with 40 big cities on 5 continents that includes London, because the mayor of London started it. And we all met here. And the countries, in the cities in the developing world, if they participate, and they cut their greenhouse gas emissions, and it's good for the urban economy, as I'm positive it will be, then that also will have an incentive in bringing these countries in.
Right, well, seeing you've raised the name of Mike Bloomberg, I'll turn to Mayor Bloomberg now. Mayor Bloomberg, I mean, do you find that here in New York, people are saying to you, we want more green policies from you, Mayor? Are the American people becoming more green, as President Clinton
People here want to breathe clean air, drink clean water, be safe, have a good economy, and all of those things depend on us taking a look at the ways we pollute and trying to reduce that. You know, the mayor of Seattle, his name, Mayor Nichols, has about 650 cities that have signed an agreement to do the same thing that the Kyoto Treaty calls for in their cities. And if you think about cities and mayors, that's where the action is. More and more people are living in cities. Cities produce probably 70–75% of the pollutants in our country. And I've always believed that you lead by example. You want your kids to be honest, they've got to see that you're honest. You want your kids to not smoke, they've got to see that you don't smoke.
But you're saying unequivocally that the American people are becoming more conscious.
Well, I can't even tell you that in New York everybody agrees with any one thing, but yes. I don't think there's any...
That would be a sweeping statement.
But the interesting thing here is that the dialogue has gone from whether or not being friendly to the environment is a communist plot to how do we pay for it, or do we have to address the problem now? That's a very big step. And there are an awful lot of people leading the way. In this city, we have a plan. There's 127 different things that we said we're going to do, and every one of those will be either started or completed before I leave office.
Wangari Maathai, however, you know from your many, many years spent trying to raise awareness of green issues amongst people, that sometimes raising awareness, making people think green, is quite different from making them act green. There is often a gulf between the two.
Yes, there is often a gap, but raising awareness is extremely important because people will usually not act until they fully understand. So it is very, very important that we continue to teach people, we continue to make them understand that this is not even the time for us to blame each other or to be too concerned about who is causing the problem. And this is especially true of us who live within the tropics, that whether we are contributing or not, scientists are telling us that the tropics will be most adversely affected by the negative impact of climate change.
But it's trying to make that link between that big picture you paint and what people do in their own homes. I mean, they honestly don't think if they don't turn off a light switch that it's going to affect the polar bear or something. It's getting that big picture linked to the ordinary person.
Well, that's partly why the United Nations Environment Programme, ICRAF, which is the International Center for Agroforestry, and the Greenbelt Movement, last year during the Conference on Climate Change, we launched the Global Billion Tree Campaign, which was to raise awareness, but at the same time appeal to all people, including children, students, to plant trees, because that is one way of not only expressing concern, but also taking action. and an action that everybody can participate
because
in.
the trees absorb the carbon
Yeah,
dioxide
fix
and
the
then
carbon.
bring it out as
Yeah,
clean
and
oxygen.
that also raises the whole issue of forests.
Chad Holiday, I mean, just going back to the American consumer, as somebody who's involved in big business, and you speak to lots of your colleagues in this world, are you finding that there is a demand from consumers for green products? The light bulbs, the hybrid cars, and all the rest of it. Is there a real demand?
When you explain it to this consumer in terms they can understand, just our employees, for example, we have a website where they can go on and calculate their greenhouse gas impact. There's no reward, but when they get the feedback and know the changes they can make, we see people making it all the time. We make it available so they can buy the products. But kind of building on that, President Clinton, I was in this very initiative 2 years ago. I was on a panel, and I was asked the question, could you conceive of a nationwide process for capping greenhouse gases or something? That was a very controversial question, and everybody on the panel didn't agree with me.
You want to answer that one and not answer the one I've just asked you in greater detail then?
Absolutely. But the point is, 2 years from now, today, 2 years, we have 100 companies in our voluntary climate resolve process. We have 30 units, including NGOs, in Washington this week, trying to persuade the government to take action. That's a big change in 2 years.
Okay.
The companies are ahead of the national government. I think this is very important, and the cities are, and the states are. And if none of these companies would be for a national ceiling on carbon emissions if they didn't think they could do it economically. If they didn't think that there was a way to do this that would be environmentally responsible and also economical. And I personally believe it would be the greatest economic boon to this country since we mobilized for World War II. I could take the mayor's plan and demonstrate it in New York.